Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. It has been a while. Summer break, though, Ray, much like school, like our summer vacation is about over, sir. Hockey is played this month.
Yeah.
Seth Jarvis has a new contract. We have a number of things to talk about, and I'm really excited because I'm at that point of year where I'm starting to get antsy about not having hockey. You know, like the wear and tear of the hockey season and the playoffs, and you kind of have a little reprieve, right? Like, okay, no hockey. I can just relax and not think about things. And then as time goes on, you're like, I kind of miss hockey. But now we're into September 1st, and it's like, why aren't they playing hockey? Like, there's gotta be ESPN 30 for 30 hockey story I can watch or something going on. So how are you feeling? Because I'm sure you're feeling the same way I do.
I feel it almost exactly the same way you do, and it's something like, as someone who's never really taken drugs and anything like that, I imagine this is what it's like when you're jonesing. You know what I mean? Like they say you just have that addiction, you want it all the time, and right about now, like I could probably sit through even the exhibition games. You know what I mean? Like, just because it's
you
there.
Got it bad.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I got it. Like, really
Somebody get
bad.
that man some serotonin and some dopamine, please.
Exactly. Make it quick.
He's willing to watch exhibition hockey. This is not good.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. But I'll tell you what makes it better is when we have opportunities to settle into the Storm Cellar and open up the door for guests. And this is one that I am thoroughly happy about. We didn't land a Caniac. We didn't even land. Well, I could say
there's always a possibility, right?
I know him well enough. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But he's a man. I have grown up with him since grade 4. He is my closest friend. He's family, and he works with the Calgary Flames organization, as a matter of fact. He is a video editor, a replay operator. He's been with the team for a very, very long time, super talented. And like I said, I'm excited to call him my best friend, the one and only Andy LeBlanc. Andy, thank you for joining us in the Storm Cellar. I know you're stuck putting up with me for a little bit. Brad will equal things out and make it palpable, at least. You know what I mean?
I'll dig on you both. I have no allegiances here.
Thanks for joining us, Andy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So we start this one out, as always, we're about the fans. Fans make hockey experience just that much better. There's something about hockey fans that are just different and make the sport as great as it is. And Andy, even though, of course, you're not a Caniac, but you have a long history in hockey, and we always want to find out about, fans, how they got into it, who they cheer for, what it's all about. And of course, I know your story, but I'd like you to share it with the rest of the Caniacs and those who are listening. So tell us your fandom. How did it start? Who do you cheer for?
All that fun stuff.
Well,
I'll try not to be too long, because people will understand I'm probably a different sort of hockey fan. But hockey has been around since I can remember. I was born in Toronto. First hockey memory is born in 1971. First hockey memory is Bobby Orr. First hockey jersey, or should I say sweater, back in those days, I had was a Bobby Orr jersey. So Boston jersey, living in Toronto with a dad who was a Habs fan. So there's the start.
This is very Bobby Brewski-esque, actually.
Yeah. So I moved out to Alberta in grade 1 to start grade 1, Northern Alberta. By the time I moved out to Alberta, my dad was a Habs fan. So my next favorite player was Guy Lafleur. So became a Montreal fan, and then as kids do, you always seem to go through a process before you eventually find your team, right? There's always that little bit, and then something sticks and you stay with them. So for me, I was a Habs fan until about grade 5-ish. I have a school picture with me wearing a Montreal Canadiens t-shirt. It's my grade 5 school picture. So proof that I was a Habs fan, which I'm not happy about.
I'm not happy about it either. That's fine.
Yeah, I know. But then I believe it was 1980. So when the Oilers first moved from the WHA to the NHL, I believe at one point in the playoffs, I'm blanking on the year. They played a best of 5 with the Canadiens and shut them out. They shut them out to win the series. And by that point, Gretzky and all those guys were starting to come into play. And then that was kind of around the time. And again, your Caniacs fans will really love this. That was about the time I became an Oilers fan, and been an Oilers fan ever since. As Ray mentioned, I do work for the Flames. I've been there about 20 plus years, and oddly enough, I do like the Flames a lot. They are one of my teams. I hate saying teams, but when you work for an organization, I was there for the 04 run. I've seen so many games. It's hard not to develop a closeness to the team you're working for. So I do love both teams. I always kind of compare it to being both a Habs and a Leafs fan, or a Red Sox and a Yankees fan. It sounds preposterous, and it is. But I am a unique individual, so I do like both Alberta teams. I do. So
do you have one of those like half Oilers, half Flames jerseys that you've sewed together? Have you done that yet, Andy?
I do not like that at all. I have not done that, but I guarantee you, in my closet, there are equally probably as many Flames as there are Oilers jerseys. Which my younger self, I can hear screaming at me. But again, like I said, I've been with the organization 20 years and have seen so many classy players go through that arena. You can't not care for those players that play there. You watch them all the time. So yeah. So that's me.
So Andy, we're gonna play a little game with you. We do this with our guests and so forth. So I'm gonna put you on the spot, and you could choose the team that you want. I mean, okay, whether it's Calgary or Edmonton. Our first question: Who is your favorite player?
All time or currently?
You could use either.
Okay, it's all time. Mark Messier. Currently, obviously, Connor McDavid.
Right. Okay. So now then the second question is, if I could guarantee that the Oilers could win the cup, but you'd have to get rid of Connor McDavid or Mark Messier, would you do it for the end of this season? Would you trade him if it meant you'd won a Stanley Cup?
Would I trade Connor McDavid if it meant a cup?
Yeah.
That question's an impossibility right now. If you trade him, they don't win. They just went to Game 7. So that question is like,
I know it's difficult, but it's if I could guarantee, I'm talking guarantee. It doesn't matter who they have. They somehow find a way. They win.
Slam dunk, no questions asked. They win another cup.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to be. How old are we, Ray? We're going to be 52 this year. 53.
I'm 53. You're catching up to me.
Yeah, I'll be 53 in about a month. So, as a sports fan and Leafs fans out there, like, you'll understand my pain almost more than anybody. I haven't seen a cup in a long time. So Mark Messier was the captain the last time they won the cup. That's 1990. I don't know. You don't know how many years you have left as a 53-year-old gentleman.
Yeah.
I have to take a cup at this point, and I would never, ever want to see Connor McDavid leave the team. And I don't think that's ever going to happen anyway. So, yeah, I would take the cup.
And you think he'll be a lifer, you think? The Oilers will be able to?
I just think he's of the same ilk as Crosby, as all those guys. I just don't. Yzerman, I think he knows what he is, and I think it's important to him. I don't think it would have mattered where he went when he got drafted, right? So had Buffalo won the lottery and got him, I just think he's that guy. I don't know. I don't see him leaving. But everyone's got opinions about stuff like that. But I'm less likely to believe he'll ever leave.
And just real quick, in a little bit, we'll be talking about Seth Jarvis's new contract, and the Canes have once again set a new precedent in the league with the way that Jarvis's contract is structured.
Yes,
the Oilers have a legitimate shot now of maybe actually being able to keep both McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, there's at least the realm of possibility those two guys aren't going to take up $30 million in cap space.
Yeah, and that's like I don't know the full details. I saw it briefly, and thanks to your creative new general manager and I believe his financial background. I think he has a financial background. Is that correct?
He's
a computer nerd.
He's the biggest brain.
Yeah.
The planet.
So it's appropriate that a gentleman like him creates a contract like this, which now, like you said, opens the door, because unlike most sports fans out there, or sports fans that want to not see those two together and see Edmonton win, I truly believe those guys want to stay together. I truly believe that. And if that's the case and they can do that, and let's say Draisaitl's looking north of $14 million per year, like you said, that excites me. That contract absolutely excites me for my own selfish reasons, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, every fan is going to be loving that now that, we're talking about cap and finding ways. At least we found a way around the cap issue that doesn't involve, being Mark Stone or the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are always putting guys on LTR, to find a way to finagle. Like, this is a different way, a legal way to do a workaround on the cap. And it's the fact that it happened with Seth. Now we understand why it took so long for the Jarvis thing to go through. There were a lot of Caniacs that were antsy, like, what's going on? Why are we waiting? He's not even on the roster. What the heck's going on? And of course, it all had to be negotiated out. It had to get approval, and it's a very, very unique contract. So we're super excited about that, and we're going to talk about that more. But one of the other things that happened this week, and it was terrible, devastating, and felt throughout the league and across sports. Johnny Gaudreau killed late Thursday night, his brother Matthew as well, riding bikes in South Jersey, preparing for their sister's wedding, and an alleged drunk driver crashes into them, killing them both. And just devastating. Like, I woke up Friday morning, and it was the first thing I saw Friday morning, and I was just flummoxed. I couldn't believe it. And then you find out the details that make a terrible situation even worse. And this is going to come out wrong. So I thought of Andy, who's had a chance to work on tape, who's had a close relationship. When you work with the Flames and stuff in the, concrete jungle underneath the ice and stuff, you run into all the players, you see them all. and you have that interaction. And he records all sorts of hype videos and stuff like that for individual players throughout. And I just wanted to get his take and perhaps even explain the vibe that was felt here in Calgary better than I could explain it. And so, Andy, I'm going to turn things over to you. Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey. He was so loved in this team, in this environment. The fans just and were devastated when he left, but even so, tell us about your experience and what you felt, and you even got a chance to go to a memorial as well. That's right?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah. Well, first the player. I mean, he was. I'm a short guy myself, so growing up, I've always any short hockey player that played that was successful, I've always liked, and he was another one. So I've been with the organization like 20 plus years. There's three names that stand out that I've watched over my 20 years. Iginla, Kiprusoff, who I still think is probably one of the most underrated goalies of all time, and Johnny Gaudreau. As a replay operator during the game, you get to slow things down a lot, right? So it's always easy to see how players do things when you're doing it at like half the speed that they do it when they're actually playing the game and you're watching it live. So for me, Gaudreau was the guy I'm working, and my tush is not on completely sitting on my chair as I'm sitting down and doing the game. The guy was one of the most exciting players I've ever watched play. His creativity, his ability to get out of trouble, his vision. For a little guy, his shot, which probably isn't talked about. He had a good little shot. He was just an all-around exciting player to watch. The thing that also sticks out, the thing that stood out, he was always smiling while he did it. Always. Smile on his face, happiest guy. You knew he loved to play the game. Knew it. And for me, with hockey players and the whole got to be humble, you can't do this, you can't do that. You clearly saw you love the game. And for me, that was like the best part about him. So and then as has been kind of reported throughout, he was always in the community, always helping. I think kids could relate to him because he wasn't a big guy, and because he was so approachable, the interactions were probably that much more memorable for those kids, right? So for me, I didn't know him personally, but our room is on ice level. So I passed him countless times in the hall. Always a smile on his face, always a hello, always. So for me, for him, he's huge for me as a Calgary Flame. And like when he left, obviously, like you mentioned, people were devastated. But for me, like he did what he did, and I always understood this. He did what he did for family. He left because of family. I really, truly believe it was the most hardest decision he ever made to leave. I truly believe he loved being here. But again, at the end of the day, I think his family was the most important thing to him. And being that far away and going through COVID like we did, it really affected everybody. And I just think he needed to be closer to his family because he was so close to his family. And so for me, like I said, he's one of the most exciting players I watched in my 20 plus years there.
You know that it's funny the way you get affected by the way you connect with players based on how they play, and a lot of fans don't get that insight, get to know them, and we always like to pull back the curtain and get a look at who they really, really are, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like with Johnny, there was no secret what you saw is what you get, right? And I even remember having the long discussions with you, Andy, about, him leaving, and I just couldn't believe it. Like, of course, but I didn't know him for anything, but I'm saying, like, man, Johnny Gaudreau, you're a god here in Calgary. There's no one that doesn't like you and hail you as the amazing hockey player that you are. And to have your insight about his family and who he was and how difficult that decision must have been, it kind of changes any sort of cynicism that you might have had, say, oh, left for the money, or, going to grab his dough and stuff like that. And it's just interesting to see that from, behind the scenes sort of thing where you were at. And is he a Rushmore Flame?
I mean, that's always a tough question. I mean, and at this time, I think had he played his career here, absolutely. For me, like, everyone will have their own Rushmore. The '80s Flames were so good. Iggy was so good. Kipper was so good. But Johnny's in the conversation, absolutely. Like Iginla, Kippersoft, McDonald, Fleury, Johnny, McInnes. There's so many amazing players. Like I said, I've been there 20 years. He's in my top three for the last 20 years easily. I think he's fifth all time in franchise points. I think he's fifth all time in assists. I might have those numbers wrong, but he is near the top, and he only played 9 seasons with the Flames. Like, if you look at top 10 games played, I believe in the organization, he's not in the top 10 games played, yet he's fifth all time in goals. Or sorry, points and assists.
That's unreal.
Which is crazy. Yeah. Which is crazy. Which shows you how much he did in such a relatively short period of time when you look at the grand, scale of how long a player's career normally is, right? So what he did here was incredible, and there's no doubt in my mind, had he stayed, easily they would have hung his jersey in the rafter, or his number in the rafters. There's no question in my mind that would have happened. So that's, sorry for the long answer, but trying to give respect to all the great players that have played for the Flames. But for me personally, he would probably be there. Lanny, Iggy, and Kipper for myself personally. Yeah.
That's fine, and you're right. The Rushmore question is, it's kind of hokey at times, because it's always they're up in Rushmore for whatever reason you want to have them up for, and it's all viable sort of thing. You went, and you can tell me to bugger off if you want on this one, but I'm just going to ask you about the memorial. You were there. If you can, are you able to share your thoughts, feelings, what it was like, how many people were there?
I can gloss over it. We obviously, as you said, devastated was the first thing I saw Friday morning. You get into work, and obviously you want to put something together to try and encapsulate what a guy meant to your organization. So here I am talking like this, but in the moment, you're not really as affected, because you're trying to do something for everybody out there. So at some point, I think it was in the afternoon, I did walk outside as the memorial was starting to happen, and I'm not going to get into numbers, because I think it's a continual flowing thing. Even probably today, I think more and more people are going down there, and I think as the weekend has developed, you've seen more and more people pay their respect. So I went out there to do that, and we had staff people there that were upset, like grown men wearing jerseys, upset. 2 guys I know that I've known for 20 years. They're providing footage. One was shooting for Sportsnet, one was shooting for TSN. They're bringing this to the world because of obviously the reason for his death. And so went out there. I hugged one of the camera guys. The hard part is seeing kids put their jerseys there.
Yeah.
Knowing, that was their guy, right?
Yeah.
For me, it was Bobby Orr. And then Messier. Had a lot of players I liked along the way. But yeah, like, what but it was amazing at the same time. Like, it shows what someone meant. Not even a hockey player, but just how important he was in the community, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even the player. It's he was a person, and it's bigger than sports. So I think, for me, that's like, as you reflect, sometimes you don't get time as you're in it to think about it, and so, like, you asking the question, you get caught off guard to some degree. But I was happy I got to go and just be there with so many people you don't know, and people you are close to at the same time, and you're all feeling you're feeling the same thing, right? So it was in a tragic and devastating situation. There was some peace and good things about it, in the sense that, like I said, he meant so much to so many people. So yeah, it was good to be there for those reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
no, don't be sorry, Andy. It's I who's sorry.
No.
And putting you on the spot like this, but I know that a guy like you, who so close to your own family, everything about Johnny Gaudreau speaks to people on a personal level. It has nothing to do with hockey, right?
Yes.
I mean, hockey is how we got to know him, but the way he carried himself is the reason why there's a memorial out there. It's a reason why we're so emotional and feel, bad about it and so forth. And
for sure.
I appreciate your willingness to share that with us. We look at, things like this happen, and it just catches everyone. And and when you start looking back, I'm really glad that people are looking back at his achievements and what he's done off the ice as well. I mean, who was he? I mean, even in Columbus, he didn't change when he went there. He was the same kind of guy. I mean, the Jackets fans got to know him the way, you did, and the way Calgarians did. And I mean, he was out even helping Laine there. There was a story somewhere that he was helping Laine as well while they were together.
Yeah, I think, well, when Laine went through his issues and had left the team, and again, I'm just speaking with the most basic knowledge about what happened. I believe Laine had a thing where for every goal scored or for something, he would donate some money to a charity. And I think once he went into the program, I believe Johnny stepped up and continued doing that donation for him while he was away. So for me, that encapsulates that guy as a person. He's always there for his teammates, and so many stories have come out about that. But yeah, so I think he stayed the same way. He was humble. He was not the guy that, I don't think there's been stories about how he wasn't the flashiest guy. He wasn't always throwing money at everything. He was a humble guy that loved to play hockey, and probably just took care of his family, because that's what mattered most to him, was his family. So yeah.
And this may be tough or whatever, but it relates to Hurricane fans. Johnny Hockey's final goal was against the Hurricanes, last game of the season.
Oh, wow. I honestly didn't know that.
Yeah, it was the Calgarians, or sorry, the Carolina fans, it was a throwaway game, you know, but he was still playing hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
He still, as he always was, like he always played hard. And he didn't have the season, I think, that a lot of people were expecting when he arrived in Columbus, but there's
Yeah,
growing pains for everything, right?
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
a whole new team. It's not like you're, going into the dome again and you've
yeah,
got
yeah.
all the guys that you're used to. It's a whole new place, whole new feeling. But, this is just, it's devastating news. Andy, thank you for sharing your thoughts about this. Brad,
Oh yeah.
I wonder if you wanna jump in here with your take, your thoughts on it before we move on.
Yeah, I think so many of us, when I was younger, I'm old and jaded now, but younger me idolized some hockey players, right? Guys like Paul Coffin, like could do no wrong. And I'm
Yeah.
older now. I'm like, oh yeah, well, yeah, he's a good hockey player. Let's stick to hockey. Johnny, and I don't want to leave out his brother either, right? So Matt, like
Yeah.
they seem to be the real deal. Like if your kid's gonna look up to a hockey player, I can't think of a better person, and I mean that as person, not player, than somebody like Johnny, right? Uh, Fourth round draft pick. People forget, like he wasn't like a first round guy who was expected. He wasn't even second. He was a fourth round pick. He comes into Calgary in 2013. He plays one game and scores a goal.
Jeez.
The next year, he I think helps end Calgary's I think like 6 year playoff drought, right? In 2000 and oh gosh, 2020, 2021, something like that, 21, 22, he just goes off and scores over 100 points, right?
Yeah.
That's such a high bar.
It
Yeah.
is, and
Yeah.
right, and it's Calgary, but then he chooses Columbus, and it wasn't about the money. Other teams were offering him basically the same money,
Yeah.
and a lot of people, myself included, like, what the heck is he thinking? And
Yeah.
he was like, it's a family, and deep down, like, yeah, awesome. That's a guy making the right choice for his family. He's not going for the spotlight. Like, no offense to Columbus at that time, like, was not a good hockey club. Like, they needed
Yeah.
a lot of help, but he was willing to go and do the work. Right? This is another fourth round guy made good. Like he's and he's a star player, but in some ways he's also like a lunch bucket guy, right? He's willing to
Yeah.
go to Columbus and do the work and make that team better and bring pride to that franchise and do all those things. And if you're going to look up to somebody, like that's the kind of person like you want. I think you guys hit it earlier when you were like what you see is kind of what you get. Um, the most interesting story that I've heard come out of all this, because his brother Matt played here in Worcester 2 or 3 times, right? He was mostly an ECHL, AHL guy, he bounced around a lot, but he played for the Worcester Railers, I think 3 different times. So he was right down the road from me for several years. But there was a great story, and spitting chicklets is not my cup of tea, but there was a great story that was told on there about Matthew, and I think this probably applies as much to Johnny as Matthew, right? I think this is just the family where Matthew's at the NHL Combine and he's trying to make himself bigger, right? Because he's a 160-pound, scrawny little dude, and he's stuffing like pucks like into his shorts and like taping pucks on to try and get a couple of pounds. That's hilarious. I'm sorry. That's and I feel like Johnny would be the exact same way. Like he's like, I'm not 165. I'm like 172, of course. And he's, there's he's got
That's awesome.
25 pucks on his pants. I mean,
Yeah.
a very good hockey player, right? A great hockey player. I mean, you guys were talking like Rushmore, like this guy, over had he had a full career in one place, could have been among the elites all time, and that's saying something in a city like Calgary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, I think a legit good human being, which is not always true of some of our best players, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like I think it's fitting. Because you were talking about the playoffs. Like, for me, it's fitting his last goal. I think it was the 22 playoffs against Dallas, Game 7. In overtime, Ottinger was playing out of his mind. I didn't think they were going to wear. I did. You were so concerned they weren't going to win the series because Ottinger was so good, and the goal, the absolute skill for him to put that shot where he put that shot in overtime of a game 7, and working that game like I'm pretty sure I jumped out of my seat when that goal went in, because it's not just, every shot's a big shot in overtime, right? You can shoot it from the boards and it's just like, find a path, right?
Yeah.
It's going to go in, find a path. You've seen like silly goals throughout history get scored to win a playoff game or a series. But his overtime goal at that point in what was such a hard fought series to end it, to be able to do that when he did it at the time he did it, it says so much about who he was as a player. Because like everyone knew he was an incredible passer too, but to put that shot at that spot at that time in that game of that series, it is a perfect last goal to score for an organization. Like I have no other words than that. It's fitting that goal with his last goal with Calgary.
It's like a generational goal. Like you'll be, it'll
be there
about that goal
forever.
for 20 years, right?
It's forever. Long after I'm gone.
You know what I'm going to remember about Johnny forever? When he first, I think he was actually I think he might have still been with the Flames, but the video of him in warm-ups in Columbus and the cannon goes off. And he's like, oh my god! And you can see him immediately laughing himself, like I knew that was coming. Man.
Yeah, even I'm waiting for it, and it still gets.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it. It's still got. Oh man, that was good.
And I wanted to add in, Andy, and of course you do the replays for that goal, and I looked at the replay of that goal that he scored on Ottinger, and I swear that there was just enough space for the puck.
Yeah.
Like there was not 4 inches. There was not.
No.
It was the width and length of the puck. That's all there was that Ottinger was allowing. And he was on fire and it went in. And that type of precise shooting is otherworldly.
Well,
it's
thinking of it from a goalie perspective. At that point, when the puck goes back out, you always see the goalies. They're down, they're on the post, blocker outside the post, stick on the ice, like they're taught. Ottinger was in perfect position. The only place that puck could go in is there's the bar. It curves up to the top of the net. Then the top of his mask is going down, and then the top of his shoulder to the post. So literally that small spot, top corner by the guy's ear hole, maybe is that's the only place that puck is going in. And I mean, don't get like to kind of put in it's not the first time he did that. It's not only time he did that. He did that a few times along the way, but in a regular season, fine. Like you get lucky goals throughout an 80-game season. But you said it perfectly. That small space at that time in the game, but unreal.
You weren't the only one jumping out of your seat on that one. The reaction, it was utter mayhem, right? Like, and that's really what it was about. That was just amazing for him. I'm so glad we're able to share those type of stories, those type of feelings. And I'm going to just circle back to the Rushmore comment about the player. I think more than that, if you looked around the league, he could be a Rushmore person. Just take away all of the hockey and the type of player that you are, the type of person that you are, he would be like eligible for Rushmore on that level too, on the personal level. Just amazing, involved in the community, friendly guy. That's so great that you were able to share that with us, Andy. Really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure.
And let's try to go to some happy news for Hurricanes anyway. And you hinted that you kind of dig Seth Jarvis anyway. After all this time, we finally get Seth Jarvis landed, and we kind of touched on it before. it's the contract that is going to be felt around the league. I mean, sure, it makes the Caniacs happy because we've got them locked down for 8 years, and I couldn't be happier. But how about that contract? Brad, this is why it was taking so long. We were getting impatient, but
Yeah.
Tulsky came up with something and to work the numbers, and it all came together. And Seth's agent is in Edmonton, right? So it's an Edmonton-based agency,
Mhm.
and you better believe the Oilers will be knocking down that door to get some details. Don't you think?
Yeah. So we for those who've been around a while, we all said there's zero chance Seth doesn't sign in Carolina. He's a restricted free agent. He's one of their top players. No team had enough cap space to offer him a big enough offer sheet to take him, if that makes sense. Like nobody had nobody could pay him $14 million that the Canes physically couldn't match. Like they would have found a way anyway, to be honest. But so an offer sheet was out of the question. Like Seth Jarvis is too good. The Oilers actually didn't they get the bad end of a stick on a couple of those from the Blues? Like that was
Yeah.
that was kind of an interesting one to see, right?
Yeah.
But so Seth's contract is just a master class in. I don't like when you only run things by analytics. Amanda Boston did that to me, right? When I was in North Carolina, I was running computer stores, and I had a boss who was living overseas trying to manage by spreadsheets. And it doesn't work. You can get a lot of information, but you still need people that on the ground, right? And Tulsky and Darren York and those guys get that because they've been doing this by committee for a while. But what a numbers guy gives you, what a PhD gives you is 22-year-old Seth Jarvis is now locked up until he's 30. So the Hurricanes have all of his prime years, all of them. They're all ours.
And
for a mere $63 million, 63.2. $29.2 million is a signing bonus. And then Tulsky, and he did this a little bit with Slavin's contract because people kind of mentioned it, but nobody really understood what it meant. And I think Tulsky did Slavin's contract this way to see if this would fly. It did. And went, loophole, I can do this now. And so, they're saving $400,000 a year on Seth's contract by paying him off basically in the 9th year when there's no deal.
Right.
And if you're Seth Jarvis, so if you're the player, you're getting paid, money today is money in my pocket, accruing interest and all those things, right? So it's better for me. I want to get paid up front. It's better for the team to spread things out, pay me down the line, because as the cap goes up and there's more space. So the fact that Seth and his agent were willing to do this contract, I think also speaks a lot about how Seth feels in Carolina. So this is a win-win-win all the way around. Okay?
Yeah.
Because he's taking less money now to get that money later. And I'm sure there'll be some kind of inflationary, payout. I don't know. But $400,000 doesn't sound like a lot. But let's say it's April and I don't know, the KHL season is over and their former captain / stud defenseman, top defensive prospect in the world, I don't know, maybe wants to come to North America and you need $400,000. You won't need that much because it'll be an ECL contract or an ELC contract, but you're going to need a few bucks. And what do you know? Eric Tulsky has a few dollars in waiting now. I mean, just a masterclass. It's looking at Puckpedia, rip, cap friendly. They're unfortunately gone. Puckpedia, I think, is filled in pretty well. Basically, generally what you do is you take the contract money, you divide it by the years. That's how you would normally say 7.9 million. But they're getting 7.5 million because of that 9th year deal, and there's no 9th year cap hit. Just a really smart deal. I think this is exactly why it took so long, because they probably had to convince Seth's agent that this was also good for Seth, right? In some way. It's still less than $8 million. I'm psyched about the fact it's even less than $8 million a year. And once again, you've locked up Seth Jarvis through all of his prime years. Are you going to have the Brent Burns who can play till he's almost 40? That will happen once in a blue moon. But if you're, if you're going to put money on a hockey team and a hockey player, 25 to 30, like that's really prime time. And after that, guys tend to start slowing up. We don't know what will happen with Seth Jarvis, but we do know that all of his years are going to be with Carolina, and his no trade clause doesn't kick in until 28, 29. Not that I would ever see them wanting to use it, but in my opinion, it's a team friendly deal anyway. So I don't know why you would even try and move it, but you could move it in the next 3 years if you wanted to. The bigger thing I think is worth talking about this contract on other places more in depth, because like I said earlier, the Oilers are a great example. You're going to have to pay McDavid. You're going to have to pay Draisaitl. And those guys might take team-friendly deals, but what's a team-friendly deal for McDavid? I don't know, 12 or 13 million a year instead of 17? What's a team-friendly deal for Draisaitl? 12 million a year instead of 15? I mean, even a team-friendly deal is gonna make you look Toronto-esque, right?
Yeah.
And Toronto's got a lot of money tied up in 4 guys, and they're not going anywhere. And they keep thinking that they only are a piece away from going to the promised land, but they've gotten out of the second round once.
Yeah.
This is the reality.
Yeah.
Right. And the Oilers were going down that path. Ray, you and I talked a bunch of times about the Oilers are not going to win a cup with the team that they got so much closer this year than I thought they would, because they finally put a few pieces in place and got some good goaltending. But I wouldn't necessarily expect that to continue. I mean, until they can prove that we can play at this level. They had a lot of money locked up in 4 guys with Kane and the Draisaitl, McDavid, and
Nurse.
Nurse. Thank you.
Nurse.
Yeah.
So this kind of a contract gives GMs a new outlet potentially to do some of those things, to offer guys money in a way that is still team friendly without having to do the Vegas or Tampa Bay, as you would say. Yeah. Oh gosh, that guy's hurt again, shockingly. Oh gosh, I hope he's available by April 28th. Wouldn't that be great? Oh, what do you know? He's eligible to start practicing on the next day. It's amazing. It's a miracle.
His playoff
you don't have to
he's
do
back.
this kind of cap gymnastics. And it's legal. I'm completing only insofar as the league should shut it down, right? The league should say that's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
And they've basically said during the next CBA they're going to shut that down in some way.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is say that players still get paid on basically a 9-month schedule, but the cap is a 365-day cap. You have to win the cap at all times. That's you could do that, right?
Yeah.
Or you can only go over the cap after the playoffs and before the season starts, as you're trying to figure out rosters. There are ways to do it. Separate conversation. But for those of you who want to put a name on the back of your jersey, who want to buy a new Hurricanes jersey, Seth Jarvis, excellent choice. He's not been anywhere for a while. Sebastian Aho locked up long-term during his prime. Andrei Svechnikov locked up long-term during his prime. I'm going to include KK because I still believe in KK. KK can be the 2C, 3C, two-way guy that he should be. Stop thinking of him as a busted 3rd overall pick. It's not his fault that Montreal doesn't know how to draft and develop players. Not his fault, right? If he'd have been a low 1st round, high 2nd round guy, and he played the way that he plays for the Canes, which is a higher points per game production with less minutes than he did in Montreal, you would say, it's fine. So I'm going to throw KK in the mix. Buy a KK jersey. Those guys are all safe, right?
Yeah.
Do not buy a Freddie Anderson jersey this year.
Yeah.
Do not buy.
I don't know how many games he's going to get this year. That's crazy.
But all good signs for Carolina. The deal took a long time. Hopefully nobody sweated it too awful much. I know a lot of people posted, but hopefully deep down they were like, it'll get done. It's fine. In my opinion, one of the best contracts we've seen as far as being both fair to the player and team friendly. I mean,
what gets me, Brad, and I don't know if Andy, we'll get Andy's take on this as well, but what strikes me when you say we have him all through his prime, last season, his best production season, he was 22, all of it with a torn labrum and a busted up, 2 games in, he hurt himself and he willed himself to the best season he's ever had, where he's making those plays. He's got a buggered up shoulder and he's racing from center to get back and stop a pass to the front of the net, and then slams himself shoulder first into the boards, and then turns up and gets up and goes back into the play. He's doing that at 22. Imagine a healthy Jarvis 25. Oh, heck, imagine it next year.
He should still put on weight, right? He should. So he's
he needs to.
He's listed at 5'10", 186, I think. And
Generous.
we all know that that's fudge. So he's like 5'9" and like 175. But, if he puts some pucks in his pants or hits the gym and he gets up close to 200, because, hockey is not weightlifting. Like, you don't have to be the biggest, strongest guy out there. You just want to be able to push guys around. So you want to be strong enough that at 5'10", 5'9", you can handle a 6'1" guy, right?
Yeah.
And Jarvis is going to grow into that. And those guys hit their strides 24, 25, 26 years old. So, right, I can't wait to see him with a full season where he's not throwing ton on his mouth like Dr. House, where you just throw him in your mouth and whatever goes in is the right dosage, right? Because we saw him doing that on the bench in the playoffs.
Yeah, the playoffs too.
Very, very excited to see this kid, to continue to see what he can do. I mean, bringing this back to Johnny Hockey, I mean, is Seth Jarvis not, do you not see the similarities there, right? With not just the size, but the attitude, right? And Seth is like, I'm going to, I can make this team, as a just off the draft, right? I can do this. And it's the same kind of attitude that Johnny had. And it's really great to see, because he seems like just such a nice, just what you see is what you get. We've heard from the behind the scenes guys, he definitely leans into the like dumb hockey player Jarvard-esque stuff, right? Because it's fun, right? It's interesting. The kids love it. The adults love it, quite frankly. But this is a smart kid. He knows what's expected, and he knows what to do, and he's got the willpower to do it. So I'm very, very excited to see that in a transition year, right? This is really kind of a mini transition year, hopefully. A lot of people are like, where's the offense going to come from? Are they going to make the playoffs? I don't think any of those things are concerned. I think you're going to make the playoffs, maybe in a wild card spot, but you're going to be there. Not too worried about that. And then, 2006, like you just make the playoffs and then see what happens.
I will say this, and something we should really quickly mention is there was another factor that helped get this contract through. Sadly, Jesper Fast is now LTIR for the rest of the season. His neck did not heal on its own the way they had hoped, so he would be able to come back, and he ended up having surgery. LTIR money frees up a little bit, and that suddenly makes things better. We won't be seeing, and just for the record, you fans in Las Vegas and Tampa Bay, he is not coming back this season. He is out for the full season. He will not be arriving.
He will not be back May 1st.
He will not be back May 1st.
He's actually hurt.
Out. He is actually hurt. We're going to say that. And I'm busting Andy up here. Yeah, exactly.
Another Columbus tie-in, right? Like last game of the season, throwaway game. He gets tweaked, and we're all like, okay, he got tweaked. Like it's a neck thing. He seems to not be. And then he's not coming back. And he's not coming back. And he's in the neck brace. And then he's going to Aho's wedding. And he's not in the neck brace, and everybody's excited. And then the next week he's in the neck brace again because he just didn't want to ruin the pictures. And like, I feel so bad for Quickie because that guy,
I do.
He's what looked like a throwaway. Clearly, like something happened there, and they were hoping it was going to heal on its own, and it didn't. And now, surgery on your neck is not something you want as a hockey player.
No, I don't.
Jack Eichel being the exception of with his neck and back. I mean. I think he did the right thing by holding out. My boy Kevin Adams, you goofed that one, Kevin. You should have let Eichel have the surgery and kept him in Buffalo.
Yeah, no kidding. Andy, hockey as well as anyone. What did you think when you saw the Jarvis deal?
I think you guys summed it up pretty good. Just team. It is team friendly. It's under $8 million. To have the ability as a continual playoff team to be able to add at the deadline is crucial right now. So for me, I like it. I mean, the Canes have been, to me, sorry, Ray, I don't want to say this, but I will. They've been one of the best and most consistent teams in the league over the last bunch of years in the Eastern Conference, right? They have been. I'm pretty sure at one point in the last couple of years, I might have had them in the Stanley Cup Finals in a pool I've done. I was always waiting for them to be. They were there, and I mean, it shows you how hard it is to win in hockey. Right? When you have your team and you're like, here we go. I see it now. This is the year. And then the next year, this is the year.
Yeah.
And you guys have been there. You have an amazing coach. You have some great players. And that ties in Seth Jarvis for me personally. He's a little guy that can stay out of trouble on the ice. Looks like he has a blast playing the game. Just looks like he has a blast on the ice. And like you said, you've got him now under $8 million for that many years in the prime of his career. It's like everyone should be getting up and just like clapping their hands for the GM for putting something like this together and enabling them to still, like you said, if things don't work out, if for some weird reason, and I don't see this happening, it doesn't work out, you can still move it because of the cost of the contract and not have to worry about, oh my God, how do I get someone to take this without having to throw away a lot of assets so they eat some money for us because it didn't work out. This doesn't really apply here. And you guys have solidified like the youth moving forward for your team. And as an outsider, like for me, like, kudos to you guys for what you're doing. And it gives you options. Like you said, you might be a wild card team. I don't know about that still. I still think you guys are a really good team. And with your coach being like re-signed, what was it in the last year? Was it recently?
Yeah, they
got one
finally
of the best coaches. Yeah, you've got one of the best coaches in the league, in my opinion. What's not to be happy about if you're a Canes fan? Like it should be all excitement and happiness as you guys head into the season. What's up for you guys? When you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. We've seen it enough over the years. You've seen it enough. You've seen teams that are lower seeds. The LA won the cup. They were an 8 seed or 7 seed?
They were 8.
It doesn't matter. If you're rolling and you're, good Lord willing, you're healthy when you get into the playoffs, that's the key. And they're a good team. So I would be excited too for you guys. I love watching them play. I don't see a lot of games, but when I watch you guys play, I'm always I don't have to look for him on the ice. I always see him. So it's I think it's an amazing deal for you guys.
And again, this deal, a harbinger for things to come. You can, I mean, Edmonton's going to be working on this kind of deal, obviously, right? They'll be looking for the formatics, the blueprints of how this deal came together for Edmonton. I know we're going to get a last comment from you about the Flames, but really quickly, are the Oilers now going to be able to hold both Draisaitl and McDavid thanks to this Seth Jarvis deal? Just off the cuff. Yeah.
Yes. I think this helps that situation for sure. And don't forget Bouchard's coming too. They got to sign him too. So this does help. But they do have a lot of work to do, but it helps, yeah.
It depends, Ray, on how far the league lets this go. You know what I mean? Can you sign McDavid and Draisaitl for $100 million for 10? 8 years, $80 million. Just throw numbers out there. Pay them all $5 million a year, and then dump everything in the. You know what I mean? Like how much is the league going to be willing to let you put into that 9th year? Is the question.
That'll get stopped for sure. I think you're right, because it's like when I'm trying to remember. I think it was Hosta back in the day when the Hosta contract got started, and everyone started like really the money went down to like $500,000 for the final years or whatever it was, when they were manipulating it that way. Anytime you manipulate things, they go, whoa, we can't have it be this way, right? So it will get. I think you're right. I think they will watch it, and it'll be stomped if it gets too bad.
Well, and it's bound to do it though, right? Like if once a loophole is found, it's exploited until, and push the boundaries of everything. There's going to be, there'll be some deal that everyone's going to shake their head at and say, where have we gone? What are we doing?
Yeah,
Let's.
was it just real quick? Was it Mike Richter who had like a 15-year deal, which is now why we have 8-year caps? And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody finds a loophole.
DiPietro?
It was DiPietro. Okay, yeah. I knew somebody had like a 15-year deal, and that's one of the main reasons. So this is going to get exploited until the next CBA. So GMs, get your guys signed.
Go ham. He's time to go ham.
Is he not still getting paid right now?
DiPietro, I think he is.
Oh, I'm going to look it up. He probably is.
Yeah, there's a few players because there was that sort of thing.
Yeah, the Islanders had Mike Milbury's genius. I think he had Yashin forever on the books too, right?
Yashin, that's right too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So we're all really old guys. So DiPietro signed that in 2006. So they have actually paid him off 3 years ago.
Holy crap. Well, that's funny too, because like I said, I've been with the Flames organization for 20 years. So to tie that all in, he was drafted in Calgary at the 2000 draft. He was the first overall pick. I worked that draft because it was in the Saddle Dome. So DiPietro has always been like in my hockey thoughts.
Yeah,
even to this day, apparently.
No question. Hey, and we're gonna shift things up. This will be we'll wrap things up here pretty quick. Calgary, State of the Flames. I know this is a hurricane centric podcast, but I've got your big brain here, and we want to share little info on the Flames. What is your take with, like, first of all, this entire season was a wash. What was your take on the entire season? And then all of the changes that have come since then and what you're looking for next season?
Well, it's no secret that a lot of guys have left the organization over the last few years. I will say, I loved how GM Craig Conroy has dealt with things. He's made some really tough decisions, but he's moved out a lot of key pieces and brought in a lot of assets, which I think is going to set them up. We've got a new building coming here in 3 years. I don't know what the next 3 years holds for this team. This year is going to be tough. They could be anywhere from a lottery pick to surprisingly a wild card pick if a lot of these young players show up. But you're asking for a lot for the team to be successful in a division with Vancouver as well, Edmonton, and Vegas is still going to be there. And then all these other Western Conference teams. Nashville's gotten so much better this year. The Western Conference is going to be a lot more tighter, and I think it's going to be hard for them to make the playoffs. So as a fan, I could see people wanting them to fall as far as possible so they get something that's guaranteed, a good, solid player that might be a key guy in the future, right? So I don't know if playoffs will be a thing, but I'm never one to – there's always one surprise team, right? I'm not saying it's going to be Calgary, but it'll be probably a tough season. But at the end of the day, I trust what Conroy's been doing. If we have to move guys out, he's been really good with some of the trades he's made. Like the Sharangovich trade was incredible. He's looked amazing. Kuzmenko's looked good for the Flames, and I don't know if he'll be around, but he's another guy that will be an asset for somebody else, which will get us more assets. He's acquiring a ton of assets, and I think he's really helping the organization be in a position in a few years to surprise people probably quicker than they think. So it'll be a tough year. If I had to guess, I would say we won't be a playoff team, but never say never.
That's right. They always hold out hope for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Brad, I know you want to jump in with something, and I can't blame you because you and me are on the big side of, body shape. If I was 3 inches taller, I'd be a square.
Yeah, I'm not overweight, Ray. I'm supposed to be like 7'2", man. That's all. My fault I didn't grow. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap this up on some hurricanes related here. All right, this is going out. Maybe Dan Latsaraka, VP. Maybe Bethany Davis, who's the senior director of merchandising and retail. Amy Peterson, senior manager of merchandise. I'm gonna preface this, Ray, by making you both really hungry because it's too early probably for you for lunch, but you guys may or may not have breakfast. North Carolina State Fair Foods. Hot chicken smash dirty mac nachos. It's mac and cheese on nachos with pulled pork, and it looks like chili on top.
Damn.
North Carolina State Fair Foods. This is a margarita cupcake with a shot of tequila sticking into it.
Wow.
This is a bacon mac and cheese sundae. It looks like a croissant that's been split that has mac and cheese and bacon on top. And it says sundae. I don't know if there's ice cream in it, but maybe, because it's not, would not surprise me.
Yes, please.
A dill pickled donut.
What?
Snow cheddar chicken. It's cheddar fried chicken.
Oh my God.
A pulled pork mac and cheese Danish. Deep fried pork ribs. Cheesy beef bliss. I can't even describe this. It looks like a steak and cheese, but with Tex-Mex kind of toppings, jalapenos and cheese and stuff. Cajun style andouille sausage corn with Mardi Gras mustard dip. What else we got? A deep fried Oreo brownie blast. This is kind of basically an Oreo donut stick, deep fried.
Andy, this
fried
sounds
butter, deep fried Twinkies, deep fried Oreos, deep fried ranch dressing. And I bring all of those things to you to say this to Bethany and Amy and Dan. Sell 3X shirts. If you look at your customer base and you just look at the thing, if you just listen to the things I just listed, you need to sell 3X shirts if you would like to make more money. Because a lot of us who are fluffier than the rest of you would like to buy merchandise. And if I can't buy it from you, quite frankly, there's a bunch of online vendors. I'm just going to have it printed myself, which is probably not going to get me a job with the Hurricanes, which would be cool. But I can't buy what you do not offer me.
Yeah,
I would love to have a cool shirt with Seth Jarvis hugging a big old bag of money. I thought it was hilarious. And I totally went on there to order one and dropped $40 on a stupid t-shirt. But I can't because you don't offer a 3X shirt. They're not that expensive.
And that's not even
not even uncommon. We're in America. No offense. I mean, not to make light, but I mean, there is an obesity epidemic in America. And the 3X shirt is not the biggest shirt anymore, y'all.
No, that's probably a regular.
Offer 4X shirts. Make them custom. Charge me $5. And if I want to order a 10X shirt, just say, look, we'll have one custom made for you. It's going to be an extra $10. It's going to take 3 weeks to get there, but we'll get it for you. Because you're losing out on merchandise sales. And I know Tom Dundon likes making money because he's made that clear. He's not cheap. But he does like making money. I will defend him to the death. He is not a cheap person. He will spend money. But I know that he likes to make money. And y'all only offering 2X shirts is like Dunkin' Donuts Arena in Providence not offering donuts. It makes 0 sense.
Brad, so I put Andy on the spot. Brad, I'm going to put you on the spot. 10X onesie. No. The 10X onesie or a 10X moo of the Jarvis holding that bag.
Yes.
Buying it?
Not in 10X, sir. I am a large individual, but I am not that large of an individual. But if somebody needs a 10X, they should be able to buy it.
I get a onesie or a moo. I would totally do that just for fun.
If you guys made 3X Stormy footy pajamas, like with the head and everything, like kids wear in adult size, like a 3X adult size, 3X tall. I'm not tall. Short.
No, you're not.
I would wear those 100%. Those would be my ugly Christmas pajamas, which is how we do Christmas. I would 100% buy that.
They would be your Jan.
I had to make my own No Touch My Guys Kochetkov shirt because they didn't offer one in my size, and I straight up ripped you guys off. If you guys want me to send you a check for like $2 for licensing, I'll do it because I can't buy what you don't offer me. And the fact that they don't have, 3X is not even an uncommon size anymore.
No.
When The Simpsons came out, all right, Homer Simpson was 300 pounds, and the joke was he's so fat he's 300 pounds, and 300 pounds nowadays is a very common size for guys to be in. It's for better for worse. I'm not going to body shame anybody. If you're 300 pounds, you're 300 pounds. And if you want a cool Kane shirt, you can't buy one necessarily, because they don't offer it for you. And I'm just saying, Canes, I don't know why you wouldn't offer them. I understand like you have to, buy things ahead of time, but like I said, you can make them custom order. I mean, a screen printing press to have, you probably already have them. They don't cost a lot of money. I can buy a 3X shirt at Joann's Fabrics for like $8. It's not like it's a huge cost item. So European sizes are smaller. And so I bought my Crystal Palace. I bought a Crystal Palace 2024, 2025 kit shirt.
Yeah.
And they have sizes up to 6X, which in America is like a 4X. So it's a little different because English sizes. But
sure.
And when I went on there, I got one, but those sold out first. I'm sure because of low quantity. But if you go on their website now, you can buy small through large, and you cannot buy extra large through 6X because all those sold first.
Yeah.
So the demand is there. Y'all need to meet the demand, because otherwise people like me are 100% going to the internet and I'm joining my own shirts. And I'd rather put money in your pockets. I don't mind spending some money on quality merchandise, but I can't do it if you don't offer it to me. That is my soapbox rant to end this episode.
There you go.
And don't eat deep fried ranch. Whoever came up with deep fried ranch, shame on you. Butter was bad enough, but deep fried ranch that sounds disgusting.
Okay, so Andy,
now I'm really done.
I'll let you in on this, Brad. Andy, in his work, with the Flames and so forth, he's also tapped every now and again. Every Stampede, he is working, doing the chucks, right? Or is it everything? It's not just the chucks; it's everything.
Yeah, chucks and rodeo, too. Yeah.
So Andy has experience of seeing what the food is like at the Stampede, and everything that you were listing, Brad, sounded like it started first here at the Calgary Stampede event. Andy, do you back me up on that? Was there anything that jumped in?
Anytime he would use the word deep fried, I was probably hitting check marks there. So the deep fried, and then going back to his comment about the obesity epidemic in America, I think that menu is indicative of why. So
right. I mean,
right?
They're giving the people what they love.
Yeah.
When I go into the Calgary Flame store, by the way, 4X tall.
Yeah.
I could buy a Calgary Flame shirt right now. And they're not cheap. I mean, they're not less expensive by any means. No, but it's not Fanatics, which means it's going to last more than a day.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm willing to spend. I can't go to games. I'm in Boston. Like, I'm going to go to see the games in Boston. That's 2 games a year. I want to spend money. I want to support my team. I like walking around my town, and I'm known as like that Hurricanes fan. Like, I've literally had other like dads in my town. We'll start talking. They're like, "Oh, you're the one." I'm like, that's me. There's actually 2 of us. There's another one. I forgot his name, but we met in line at Walgreens picking up our prescriptions because we're old.
Oh, that's funny.
And he went to UNC, and he's like, "Oh, I love the Hurricanes." I'm like, "It's just you and me. It's you and me and 10,000 Bruins fans, my friend."
That's awesome. Ray. That would be Ray too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's good. Honestly, it's good odds.
Yes.
It feels like it's good to feel like Custer every now and again. And before we say goodbye, and I thank Andy, I want to just let everyone know Andy's the guy that makes it possible for me to be at Hurricane games in the Saddle Dome. He's always been there to provide me that ticket to make sure I can have my joy. And sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. Work. And he even takes the time to make sure one of the cameras gets an up close on me every now and again, see what I'm doing, what I'm up to, and stuff like that. He's always played around with that.
Do they boo you? Like, I'm kind of hoping they do.
I know I've never been booed. Now, when I stand and cheer, I get a lot of "sit the hell down." Only hell is not the word that is used. But this is a family. But and then I continue standing. the more that they say to sit down, the more I stand. I'm kind of an agitator that way. Andy knows that, true and true, because we've been friends forever. Andy, I want to thank you again for taking the time to join us here on really short notice to talk about a really difficult situation. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for what you do. Hardest working guys that I know, and a perfect example. Andy, thank you very, very much.
Oh, thanks for having me. I was glad to be a part of this. It was fun.
Thanks so much for coming, because the replay guy is like one of the most popular guys in the arena when the NHL lets y'all show stuff.
Yeah,
because I know I'm sure it's a league thing where they're like, yeah, don't show that. That's too close
when you're hearing
call,
them.
but...
Yeah, when you're hearing them boo the calls from inside the rink, I always take pride in knowing that I'm helping the fans, not like the calls, right?
Yeah,
I did that, right?
Real quick, do you ever not get to show a replay in the arena, and then you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, they missed that one? Like,
there's a lot of times, like, it's a slippery slope when you're doing it in house, right? Because I mean, you do have to. People are probably going to like the way I say this. You have to respect the officiating of the game. It's a hard job. It's a thankless job. It's a thankless job. But yes, there's tons of times where you can't show something you want to show, and you're like twitching. You're twitching to want to show it. Right?
It's something nobody else knows, and you're just like, oh, I got to keep this one to myself. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. 100% accurate.
And see, I was getting ready to wrap up the show. I got to dive back in. Andy was the guy I was talking to. I was in the dome. We were watching a game. The offside call that was attempted to overturn a Canes goal. Do you remember that one, Andy? It was a long process one, but it was one of those weird rules about who has to get out of the zone before it comes back in. It ended up being a Canes goal, and I looked at the replay and thought, oh man, that goal should be overturned. And I texted you in the middle of the game, and somehow you had the time, and you said, no, I put it out there. I think it's a goal. And I'm like, this is one of the times where I was speaking against my own team. And Andy was the guy that said, yeah, no, I think it is a goal based on this, but this is a weird one. It was a strange event when it happened. And it was so much fun. I get those connections with Andy, who does such a bang up job. Brad, we've done so much.
Yeah, right? I think this was an important episode. This was a good way to start season 5 of the podcast, my friend.
5 years.
I mean,
Can you believe it?
Subject matter was unfortunately something that we felt we should talk about some and put what we can do to put a positive spin on what happened with the Gaudreau brothers, but an important one nonetheless. Seth Jarvis, 5 years. We started this podcast just over 4 years ago. We're gonna, this will be the start of season 5, and we're looking forward to it. I'm in hockey mode. I'm ready to roll.
You betcha. And so if you're listening and you'd like to be a part of the show, join us in the Storm Cellar. There's always room, and there's room for everyone. We've always said it. Hockey is for everyone, or at least it should be. Not quite there yet, but we're getting close. But the Storm Cellar door is always open. If you want to pull up a chair with us, how do they do it and enjoy the show? Andy will tell you it's a marvelous experience.
Exactly.
No better way to spend 2 hours on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Other than sleeping or the beach or a hockey game or
how do they get
deep fried food,
Brad?
Sleeping on the beach, eating a deep fried Oreo Twinkie. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. How do they get a hold of us?
The easiest way is twitter.com/stormcellar97. You can email us stormcellar97@gmail.com, on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97. You can get a hold of Ray on Twitter @JudgeWapner10.
And I'll talk with you about virtually anything if you want to chat it up and stuff. Andy, thanks again. Brad, that wraps it up for us, but I know there's something that we need to do, something that I'm missing.
Deep fried Twinkie? See, if I don't eat the deep fried Twinkie, maybe I can squeeze into a 2X shirt next time.
There you
I mean,
go.
that's the reality of the situation here.
You know
I'm,
what?
I'm no dummy. But how about cocaine's?
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.